Do flares actually appear out of nowhere, or is it a bit more of a gradual process? Believe it or not, immune activation actually starts quite a bit before the flare symptoms appear. The first early signs, as anyone knows who's got this condition or has experienced any sort of flare-like symptoms, is you will start to notice your gut change. Now that's things like you might notice some sensitivity around the gut, some cramping, stool patterns will change in terms of consistency, frequency, and even reactions to food might change. So maybe you're reacting faster than normal, or maybe it's just the actual foods that you're reacting to a little bit differently. Either way, these signified changes are occurring in the gut. Now, before your gut symptoms, there's actually earlier symptoms outside of the gut that can give you an insight as to whether you are heading towards a bit more of an imbalance and a bit more of a flared state. And that's actually the general symptoms that you will start to feel. So maybe your sleep starts to change, maybe your general energy levels start to change. You might just start to feel a little bit more ill. Now, those are the earliest warning signs. Our immune system, when it's working inside the gut, is also affected outside of the gut. So for anyone with IBD, those early signs outside of the gut are the ones that we need to pay the most attention to. But equally, it's the ones that are hardest to pay attention to. As I've mentioned with my previous videos, I suffer with anxiety and ADHD and insomnia quite a bit. So for me, having sleepless nights, feeling a little bit low on energy, having these early symptoms often overlaps with things that I already suffer from. So for me, it can be quite difficult to catch on to these early symptoms. For me, it's normally that second stage where it's actually the gut symptoms starting to appear when I start to take action. And for a lot of people, even when those gut symptoms appear, it's often until the very worst symptoms start appearing that they start to take action. Now, as we've explained in previous videos, with IBD, we have this gut barrier, and as we become inflamed, those tight junctions, which are the proteins holding it together, become looser. That looseness allows particles and toxins to get in, and that creates the immune response. So as we get closer to a flare, and as these symptoms start to get worse, that's essentially what's happening, is this barrier is becoming weaker, and our susceptibility to all these other things that drive this immune response even further gets worsened. So what can you do about it? There's quite a few things actually that we can do. And the biggest thing is something that I still do today, and it's something that every gut coach I've ever worked with and every person I've ever worked with also does, and that's tracking. Tracking is something that we look at it and go, it's just writing down what I've eaten. Why is it so valuable? You know, I'm just logging stuff. But picture this, you've just gone to the toilet, something's happened, red flag, symptom, and all of a sudden that anxiety's come across you and you've gone, oh, I don't know what's happened. I'm now flaring. I might have to go to the hospital. I might have to go on drugs. All these different emotions start rising up. One of the biggest things that you can do to calm that back down is to be able to go and look at the past few weeks around what you've done. You might notice bowel movements have changed. So for example, when we are tracking, we want to look at things like sleep quality, food, hydration levels, bowel movements, and then even details within those bowel movements. So what's the consistency like? How many times have we gone? Was there any sort of feeling or pain afterwards? If we keep a really accurate record of everything going on, whenever these symptoms appear, it allows us to look back and even start to figure out patterns. So maybe you could look back and say, okay, the last time I felt like this was actually 3 months ago. So you can look back and maybe you see, I've actually had a very similar set of circumstances with food in my last flare as I have at this flare. So that's when you can start to really pinpoint foods that are working for you and foods that aren't working for you, even times that you should be eating. So maybe you notice patterns around eating later causing problems, or maybe it's bigger breakfasts that cause you problems. Either way, the point is that if you track and record everything, it allows you to navigate everything a lot easier. The more data you have on yourself about what foods work, what doesn't work, and how your body seems to work with everything is so useful for you then formulating your own plan about how to navigate this disease moving forward. So stability in IBD isn't really about luck, although there is some luck to a degree. It's more about understanding patterns and intervening at the right point. For most people, and I've been a victim of this myself many times, we always wait until it's too late. We go, I can have that one more cheat meal or whatever it might be. And then bang, we go into flare mode, and that's when we start going, okay, let's get the tea down, let's do this, let's get the fruit. You know, you bring every toolbox out, but the reality is if we nip it in the bud earlier on and we continuously take accurate readings and accurate recordings of how we're doing, that is the best tool in your arsenal to navigate things moving forward. Follow for more tips and give me a comment and let me know how you manage your symptoms and how you track your symptoms.